Chapter 1. My parents favored my frail and sickly younger sister. In our past life, they chose a hawk beastman willing to live in human cities as her husband. Meanwhile, I was sent to the deep sea and married to a giant shark beastman. When the apocalyptic rainstorm came, floods submerged all human cities, forcing my parents and sister to drift at sea clinging to a broken wooden plank, unable to bear their suffering. I brought the giant shark beastmen to rescue them and bring them back to the deep sea, watching the Ursus sharkmen go out hunting every day while I enjoyed comforts at home. My parents couldn't bear seeing my sister having a worse life than me, so they poisoned the fish to kill me. Reborn in this life, they decided to marry my sister to the Ursus sharkmen. My biased parents thought my sister would surely live in luxury this time, but they didn't know, after the natural disasters, fish became scarce, and sharkmen, they need meat. Sable, you must listen to us. Only by marrying the sharkman Odin can you live in comfort. Mom and Dad earnestly held my sister's hand, pleading with her. Hearing those words, I immediately knew my biased parents had also been reborn. The women of our family have been destined to marry beastmen for generations. Now, in our generation, only my frail sister and I remain. In their past life, the giant shark beastman Odin and the eagle beastman Axel came to seek marriage. Odin had a rugged appearance, and marrying him would mean living in the deep sea. Axel, on the other hand, appeared refined and extraordinary, even promising to stay in human cities for his wife. Unable to bear seeing their daughter suffer, the parents chose Axel for her, and I could only follow Odin to the bottom of the sea. The family of 3 boasted to me daily about their happy life in the human city. But half a month later, endless heavy rains caused floods that submerged almost the entire human city. They could only rely on a broken wooden plank, floating at sea, waiting for Axel, who could fly to find food. Axel worked himself to exhaustion until his wings were injured. Seeing that they couldn't rely on him anymore, his parents and younger sister threw him into the sea. They truly couldn't endure the hardships of wandering anymore, begging me to save them. My heart softened, and I brought my parents and younger sister into the deep sea, but seeing me wait at home every day for the great shark Odin to return with fish, my parents actually thought I was living much happier than my sister, so they laced the fish with deadly poison. Why? I asked unwillingly. We're both their children, so why would they harm me for my sister's sake? My parents just gave me a disgusted look. Sable is frail. She deserves this good life. You stole Sable's good fortune. In their eyes, I'll forever owe Sable. It was only because I absorbed too much nutrition in my mother's womb that Sable didn't get enough nutrients and was born very weak. But was this something I could choose? Back then, I was just a clueless infant too. I watched coldly as my parents continued persuading the reluctant Sable, my gaze falling upon the 2 beastmen waiting nearby. Odin's appearance is indeed not what girls would fancy these days. After all, he lives in the deep sea, so it's fine if he looks a bit rough around the edges. The betrothal gifts he brought were merely dried fish caught from the ocean. Axel is different. His face could rival those pretty boy actors in idol dramas on TV. The betrothal gifts were prepared according to human traditions, clearly showing great care and effort. No wonder my parents chose him for Sable in my past life. Axel is truly a good orc. Thinking about his fate in my past life, I can't help but feel sorry for him, but this time, he shouldn't end up so tragically. I don't know how Mom and Dad convinced my sister, but after the 3 of them whispered for a long time, they came out holding Odin's hand, calling him son-in-law repeatedly with great enthusiasm. Our Sable is gentle, kind, and beautiful. She's a perfect match for you. As for Coraline, Dad's tone suddenly changed when he spoke, sounding as if I wasn't their biological daughter. Coraline can just marry Axel. The marriages for both couples were settled, and Odin couldn't wait to take Sable back to the deep sea. He disliked the land, finding it too dry, just like in our past life. As soon as our engagement was decided, he immediately took me back to the deep sea, but since I wasn't the favored child, my parents naturally didn't care about me. Now his wife is Sable, and they won't just stand by idly anymore. Sable isn't in good health, so we old folks plan to come along too. There are still some things to pack up. Son-in-law, don't rush just yet, Mom said with a smile as she discussed it with Odin. Though it was called a discussion, in reality it was just informing him. Odin's impatience was barely concealed on his face. Then hurry up and pack. After throwing out these words, he went out to find a place to bathe. Sable's expression didn't look too good. Chapter 2. Mom, this Odin is really too arrogant. I genuinely don't like him. Her mother quickly hugged her to comfort her. Oh my dear, let the man be a little arrogant. Think about the coming storm. Don't you want to live a life of comfort and happiness? Sable's expression softened considerably, but when she turned and saw me standing nearby, she sneered again. What are you still doing here? Why isn't your husband thinking of taking you away? Coraline, you're not still thinking about Mom and Dad dividing the property for you, are you? Let me tell you, don't even think about it. All these things are mine. Hearing Sable's arrogant words, Mom and Dad didn't see any problem with it, standing by her side and blaming me together. Exactly, we've already worked hard enough raising you this big. Coraline, when are you going to get married to Axel and move out? Oh right, don't take anything from your room, we're leaving it for Sable. I just found it ridiculous, raised me this big. You mean making me work part-time at 16 to earn my living expenses while still supporting the family? Besides, when did I ever have a room? That was just a storage space, and you still can't bear to part with those rotten wooden furniture pieces. With that said, I grabbed Axel, who had appeared at some point, took the household register handed over by my parents, and turned to leave, leaving only my embarrassed parents standing there awkwardly, looking at each other. You used to. Axel hesitated, his handsome face showing a hint of sympathy. He is one of the rare beastmen who particularly enjoys human lifestyles and has some understanding of humankind. Axel just never imagined that human society would develop so rapidly, with some people living in such miserable conditions. Axel couldn't comprehend what my parents were thinking. Even among beastmen tribes with numerous offspring who show favoritism, they still adhere more to nature's law of survival of the fittest. Favor the weaker, impossible, humans are truly strange. I understood his meaning from his gaze and smiled at him. What happened before doesn't matter anymore. For me, every day after leaving that home will only get better and better. Axel nodded with partial understanding. After getting the marriage certificate, he suddenly held my hand. Wife, he uttered these two words with extraordinary force and resonance, so resounding that I couldn't even blush. As if we were about to raise wine bowls and swear brotherhood the next second, but what Axel said next suddenly made me want to hug and kiss him twice. I own properties in City A, City B, and City C. You can live wherever you prefer. If you like the city, we'll live in the city. If not, Axel gritted his teeth, I still have a mountain back home, though it might be a bit high for you humans. My eyes instantly lit up. Mountains are great, let's go live on the mountain. Axel scratched his head in confusion. I thought you humans all preferred living in high-rises, so I specifically bought a house in the city. Won't you feel uncomfortable living in the mountains? There's no food delivery here, though we do have Wi-Fi. I quickly shook my head. No, why would I be uncomfortable? We can sell those city houses. I'll just move back to the mountains with you. After all, the city is full of skyscrapers, and there's no way you can fly. Not only that, but in his previous life, Axel even injured his wings when flying to find food and got hit by collapsing concrete. He's a goshawk, with broken wings. How is that any different from being disabled? Hearing my words that could barely be considered concern for him, Axel blinked his eyes. All right, let's head back to the mountain then. If there's a chance in the future, I'll take you flying. I imagined that scene and shuddered. We'll talk about it when there's a chance. I still took him home first. There really weren't many things in that house that belonged to me, but there were still many small items I bought with my own money, and I didn't want to leave them all for that family to take advantage of. Besides, the little doll my only doting grandmother made for me by hand before she passed away was still in my room, and I absolutely had to take it with me. When I dragged Axel back and tried entering the password several times, the smart lock still wouldn't open. We were just out getting our marriage certificate. How could they have changed the door code already? Furious, I rushed forward and banged on the door. Open up, let me in. I clearly heard voices talking inside the room, yet no one paid any attention to me. Clearly, they were doing it on purpose. I only felt a throbbing sensation at the center of my forehead. Axel patted my shoulder reassuringly, and I took a deep breath, asking him to step back a little. The next second, under his astonished gaze, I kicked the door shut with my foot. When it didn't open with the first kick, I followed up with several more, until the electronic lock started beeping an alarm. The three people inside could no longer pretend not to hear. Child, why do you have such a temper? As soon as the door opened, my mother put a hat on my head. I gave her a half smile and said, you changed the password and pretended not to hear. Yet you blame me for having a short temper. My father also stepped in to mediate, after all. Axel was still there as an outsider, so they still wanted to keep up appearances. Can't you take a joke? Why so serious? I let out a cold laugh and headed straight for my little storage room, but my parents suddenly changed their expressions. Hey, Coraline, you just got back. Why are you in such a hurry to go to your room? Don't even know how to serve tea or water, or keep us company with conversation. Do they even see us as elders? Strange. They usually don't have the leisure to ask me to accompany them with conversation or serve tea and water. At home, these are all privileges reserved for Sable. Of course, Mom and Dad couldn't bear to have their precious daughter pour water. I pondered for a moment and immediately realized they just didn't want me to return to my room. What on earth is happening in my room? I shook off Mom's hand holding mine and pushed open my bedroom door amidst her repeated curses of disgrace and unfilial Sable was sitting on the bed in my room, looking up in alarm at the sound of the door opening. All my belongings were thrown on the floor in complete disarray. Seeing the scissors in her hand and the decapitated doll, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. Sable, I lunged forward and grabbed her hair. Why did you destroy my doll? Don't you know it was a gift from Grandma? Sable winced in pain as tears instantly streamed down. But her words remained sharp. Chapter 3, I know. Why should that damned old woman only make dolls for you? Everything in this house belongs to me. Why does she like you but not me? I wish I could strangle her to death. My parents desperately held me back. I didn't hold back, and neither did they, grabbing my arms and leaving red marks all over. Your sister is young and frail. As the older sister, can't you give in to her? The same old rhetoric as before, but this time, I suddenly didn't want to endure it anymore. In the past, there was still attachment to my parents, so in my previous life I softened my heart, let the wolf in, and got myself killed. I never wanted anything to do with them in this lifetime, yet they still think I'm easy to bully. With reddened eyes, I fiercely slapped Sable twice across the face. Dad got angry, winding up his arm as if he was about to hit me too. Axel immediately stopped him. Beastmen are naturally large in stature, and even in human form, he stood nearly 9 meters tall. I saw the imposing aura around my father instantly weaken, and I couldn't help but find it amusing. So, he was just a bully who preyed on the weak and feared the strong. I smashed everything valuable and worthless in the house, and only then did some of the pent-up frustration in my heart dissipate slightly. Glancing once more at the terrified family of 3 in the corner, frightened by my frenzied appearance, I let out a cold laugh, grabbing my belongings and the mutilated doll. I took Axel by the hand and left. As we departed, I could still hear them comforting Sable. Don't worry, when the flood comes, that ungrateful wretch won't even have a place to hide. She'll either die miserably in the water or come crawling back to beg us. As long as you stay with Odin, she won't be gloating for long. Just wait and see. It sounds like they truly regarded that giant shark Odin as the savior in the apocalypse. How laughable. No matter how human-like orcs may appear after transformation, they still carry the wildness and instincts of beasts. In my past life, they only saw me waiting at home every day for Odin to bring back fish, but failed to notice the dwindling amount of food he returned with. The way they looked at us was becoming increasingly strange. In this lifetime, if they want to enjoy that kind of luxury, let them go ahead. Together with Axel, I quickly sold all the houses he had bought in the human cities, exchanged them for supplies, and transported them to the mountains near his hometown. That mountain was indeed very high, but I never expected this guy to be so wealthy that he built an entire estate on the mountain, and even worried I'd get tired from climbing, so he had a cable car installed overnight. When I reached this estate, which was at least 20,000 square feet by cable car, my jaw nearly hit the floor. This is your home? Axel nodded somewhat sheepishly. Yes, we birds have quite high standards for nests, and I particularly enjoy human lifestyles. So, he suddenly realized something and slapped his thigh. I forgot you humans might prefer different interior design styles. What style do you like? If you don't find this appealing, how about we tear it down and rebuild? I've still got tons of cement and steel bars stored in my basement right now. When it comes to building and renovating houses, Axel can talk endlessly. I barely managed to interrupt him. No, I really like this style. There's no need to rebuild. All right then. His handsome face still seemed somewhat dejected, but he quickly perked up and began introducing me to the furnishings in the manor. It took me over an hour of walking to tour the entire manor, rubbing my slightly sore calves. Only one thought crossed my mind. Oh no, it turns out I'm the old servant, huh? After storing the purchased supplies with Axel and planting those vegetable seeds indoors, nearly half a month had passed. During these 2 weeks, my parents video called me several times. Since we'd already fallen out, their calls weren't well-intentioned. They just wanted to boast about how happy Sable and Odin were together. I simply treated it as entertainment. To be honest, life in the mountains is still a bit boring. These people basically serve as my electronic pets. To avoid making them lose their composure too quickly, I deliberately chose the smallest room for the video call. Watching my parents repeatedly show off the fish Odin caught for Sable, I could only glance down at the free-range chicken soup and sweet and sour carp on my left, then at the stir-fried mushrooms and vegetable egg drop soup on my right, shedding tears of envy. Both my parents and Sable were very satisfied with my reaction. After learning it had started raining outside, they didn't even bother hiding their malice toward me. This rain clearly won't last long. You should just stay home and wait for it to stop. Even a fool could tell they wanted me to be trapped and die miserably in the apocalypse. For the sake of future excitement, I still nodded in agreement, saying I wouldn't go out or prepare anything. After hanging up, I immediately went back to planting vegetables with Axel. Honey. Axel's tone was somewhat aggrieved. You can't make an eagle plant vegetables all day, that's abuse. Then what do you want to do? Let me go feed the chickens. I immediately shook my head in refusal. No way. Axel instantly deflated. Why, honey, why can't I feed the chickens? You scare the chickens away every time. Tell me why. I'm truly at my wit's end. After returning to the mountain, Axel truly revealed his true nature, but it's just as well. He was still young. Yet in his past life he had to carry that family's burden and was betrayed. In this lifetime, as long as we're together and happy, that's all that matters. Just as I was thinking, my hand was suddenly grasped. Darling, Axel gazed at me with burning intensity. Let's go together. The rain is getting heavier. It started with a light drizzle, and then never stopped. Axel and I sat on the sofa, watching the rain patter against the ground outside the floor-to-ceiling window. Has this rain been going on for too long? Axel held me close, frowning slightly. After all, beastmen have extremely sharp instincts. Fortunately, we had the electrical system fully repaired and reinforced earlier. With rain this heavy, a power outage would have been troublesome. Honey, should we go out and take a look? I was somewhat surprised. How do we get there? We can just fly there. Axel patted my head and, after muttering some kind of spell, suddenly grew a pair of wings on his back. He smiled radiantly, just like the male lead in childhood cartoons, and immediately swept me up into flight. The next second, with a thud, Axel crashed into the ceiling. Whoa, wife, it hurts so much. I fell silent. Stupid bird. Chapter 4. Axel finally adjusted himself and took me flying out to survey the situation below the mountain. About several dozen kilometers from this mountain lies a small county town. The flood has already begun to surge, yet everyone seemed to think this was just an ordinary natural disaster, stocking up on food at home being the greatest show of respect. After all, there had been cases before where entire floors were flooded. Once the rain stopped, things would gradually improve, but I knew this rain wouldn't stop. After returning, I wrote a letter and had Axel deliver it to the county leader's home. When he returned, his fluffy hair was dripping wet, but his eyes were shining brightly. I delivered it. Honey, praise me quick. Okay, my husband is the best. I smiled and threw him a towel, then wiped his hair again. In the midst of being busy, my parents' video call request came through again. Coraline, is there a flood outside? Dad was sprawled casually on the shell-made sofa, while beside him, Mom and Sable were sipping sea cucumber porridge in small bites. Hearing their question, I merely raised an eyebrow. Yes, the flooding has already started outside. How tragic. Mom theatrically shook her head and showed me the sea cucumber in her bowl. You've never eaten a sea cucumber this big, have you? Odin went out to catch it. Take a good look now, because soon you won't even get to see it. I adjusted the camera and rolled my eyes when they couldn't see. Right, I can't get any. Why don't you mail me some? Sable immediately scoffed. What kind of pipe dream are you having? Not to mention it's impossible to mail anything outside now, even if we could. Are you worthy of eating what my husband found? Just enjoy the bugs that useless Axel caught for you. Let's see how long before you starve to death. Her tone was full of schadenfreude as she deliberately poured the unfinished seafood congee into the trash right in front of me. I just raised an eyebrow. How can Odin tolerate such food waste? Sure enough, the next second, Odin, who had been sitting quietly nearby, suddenly erupted, slamming Sable's arrogant face straight onto the table. Didn't I tell you not to waste food, Sable? Are you asking for a beating? The giant shark Odin's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The parents didn't expect him to suddenly turn hostile and quickly came to stop him. Son-in-law, it's just a bowl of porridge. No need for this, Odin sneered. Just a bowl of porridge. You three burdens stay home without hunting, yet speak so lightly. Sable, lick the porridge clean from the trash can. Sable trembled in fear at his gaze, but still resisted upon hearing his words. No, don't. She turned her head and coquettishly pleaded with Odin again. Honey, I really can't eat anymore. Can't eat it or just showing off. You think I'm stupid? Odin lost his patience and directly shoved her head into the trash can. Sable's face was covered in garbage, but she couldn't resist at all. After venting his anger, Odin gave a cold glance at his parents who didn't dare to utter a word, then turned and left. As soon as he left the house, Sable covered her face and screamed, "Why didn't you help me? Are you just going to stand by and watch your own daughter get bullied?" She confronted her parents. Her father awkwardly smiled and said, "Sable, how could we help you? We're just a pair of old bones now. Besides, wasting food is indeed your fault." Sable directly pushed away her mother who came to comfort her. "Isn't this how I am at home? Didn't you say I should enjoy life? Is this what you call enjoying life?" I tried to hold back, but couldn't help laughing out loud. Sable is indeed the same at home. The food she likes, even if it's going to be thrown away, she won't share it with others. I've lost count of how many times I've gone hungry watching her throw away the leftovers on her plate. But how could Odin possibly indulge her bad habits? In his previous life, he told me to keep my sister in check. warning that he'd really eat her if she wasted food. Now that they're married in this lifetime, Odin would take matters into his own hands. My laughter finally reminded my parents and Sable that the video call was still active. Sable's face turned from pale to white, then flushed red, clearly seething with anger. Coraline, how dare you laugh at me? Ha, isn't it funny? I love watching pretentious people get their comeuppance. I shrugged nonchalantly and ended the video call under my parents' and Sable's murderous glares. The rain outside continues to pour relentlessly. After a few more days, a loud boom echoed from the foot of the mountain. The dam, which had endured too much, finally succumbed to the unrelenting pressure of the ceaseless rain. With a thunderous crash, it collapsed completely. The raging torrent surged downward in one violent rush, submerging the concrete and steel city built by humans until nothing remained, and the culprit, the incessant rain, still wouldn't stop. Layer upon layer of dark clouds blotted out even a sliver of sunlight. The apocalypse had truly arrived. Axel and I were living quite comfortably. Even as the apocalypse arrived and sea levels rose significantly, they still never submerged the mountain we lived on. Moreover, before the rains came, Axel and I had already sold all those houses and converted them into supplies. Those supplies are enough to last the two of us a lifetime, plus the vegetables I grow indoors under grow lights, and the chickens, ducks, geese, pigs, and cattle we raise on the estate. Chapter 5. Although this is a manor, I've successfully turned it into a farm. Axel doesn't mind either. On the contrary, he quite enjoys this pastoral lifestyle. Except for occasionally struggling to control his instincts and wanting to catch chicks, life is infinitely better than his previous existence. Compared to before the apocalypse arrived, both of us have actually gained a few pounds. Of course, the foot of this mountain has also gained some uninvited guests. There's some residents from nearby towns. Axel's letter did prove somewhat useful after all. The official reviewed its contents and reported it up the chain. Many humans began migrating to higher altitudes, and this mountain became the destination for some. That day, while I was farming, the doorbell at home rang. The leader was someone dressed very much like an official. This, comrade, he pondered for a long time about how to address me. Excuse me, is this mountain your private property? We're from F County, and there's really nowhere to stay outside now. Would it be possible to find some resting places on the mountain? I gladly agreed. Of course. It's not about being a saint either. In the post-apocalyptic world, such a polite request is indeed hard to refuse. After setting the rules, I stopped paying attention to those outsiders. They were sensible enough not to disturb me. Only occasionally would a few people come to buy eggs or vegetable seeds from me. Their chicks did hatch, but with too much rain, the seeds just wouldn't sprout. After much deliberation, I decided to let Axel transform back to his original form and carry me down the mountain to salvage several boxes of grow lights from the flooded factory. Though waterlogged, after drying them out, some were still usable. These people were extremely grateful to me and Axel, treating us with even greater respect. The farming instincts ingrained in the bones of the Chinese people enabled them to achieve food security by cultivating wasteland on the mountains. Soon, more and more people came upon hearing the news. By the time my parents and Sable's video call came through again, this place had almost transformed into a new small town. Calculating the time, it's about when the food supply in the sea begins to dwindle. I stopped pretending and directly answered the video call in the manor's living room. My parents and Sable, who had been flaunting their superiority before me last time, had all lost significant weight, especially my parents, with their sunken cheeks clearly showing they hadn't eaten properly for a long time. On the other end of the phone, they were stunned to see me looking radiant and even slightly plumper. Isn't it the apocalypse out there? How do you look like you've gained weight? I sighed, stroking my chin and said, yeah, how did I get so fat? Probably because I've been eating way too much braised pork and cola chicken wings lately. Hearing me mention braised pork and cola chicken wings, my parents and Sable visibly swallowed hard, but Sable still tilted her chin up defiantly. No way, how could you possibly eat that well? Just as those words fell, Axel arrived. He just brought today's lunch. Honey, how about we have braised pork knuckle and scrambled eggs with tomatoes today? We'll have to go on a diet tomorrow after this. We've been eating too much meat lately. I feel like my belly is starting to show. The tender braised pork knuckle was placed directly in front of the camera. Mom and Dad were dumbfounded, and Sable was stunned. How do you guys have braised pork knuckle to eat? As she said this, she couldn't control the drool from spilling out. With the intention of adding insult to injury, I smiled faintly and gently patted Axel's shoulder. It's all thanks to your good son-in-law. His family owns mines. Axel, being straightforward, shook his head and corrected me. No, honey, my family just owns some hills. Got it. Just some hills, with nothing but a 2,000 square meter estate on them. The family of 3 on the video call looked as if they'd just eaten something vile. Sable was so furious that she directly grabbed her mother by the throat, her eyes bloodshot. Mom, is this what you called living the good life? Why, if I had married Axel, Coraline's good life would have been mine. Why did you lie to me? Mom was choked so badly she could barely breathe, nearly passing out. Even after breaking free, she still spoke up for Sable. She directly knelt before the camera. Coraline, your parents were wrong. You don't understand, in their past life, Axel and Sable were meant to be together. I'm begging you, sweetheart, can you please let Sable have Axel? Sable has a weak constitution and can't endure hardships. Sable's face lit up with joy, then she tearfully played weak in front of her mother. I'm sorry, Mom, I was just too angry earlier. Did I hurt you? Naturally. Mother couldn't bear to scold her and shook her head vehemently. Seeing this scene, Axel reacted even more intensely than I did. He immediately jumped up, pointed at my mom and started yelling, "What kind of person do you think you are? My wife loves me more than anything in this world. Do you really think your few words could make her stop loving me? And you're telling her to give me up? And that sickly, ugly wretch standing next to you is even worthy. He's always had a gentle temperament, though sometimes a bit slow. He's never seemed aggressive before." The fact that they're cursing so harshly now clearly shows they're genuinely furious. Sable was initially looking at Axel with hopeful eyes upon hearing Mom's words, but her face fell when she heard his merciless scolding. She looked at me, her eyes brimming with jealousy. Why do you get to marry someone whose eyes are only for you? Do you realize Odin hasn't brought back any food for a whole week? Sable was getting frantic. Mom and Dad were sighing in despair too, seeing the hopelessness on their faces. I raised an eyebrow. Wasn't this all your own choice, in your past lives? Didn't you always say I only had a good life because I followed Odin? Now that you've taken Odin, why do you suddenly think Axel is better? Chapter 6. My parents stared in horror, their eyes wide. You're a reincarnator too. You knew Odin was problematic all along, didn't you? I let out a cold laugh. Yeah, I even told you about it in my previous life. Who told you to ignore me and completely forget about it? Odin has a violent temper and would smash things whenever something displeased him. In my past life, I was also beaten black and blue. When I called my parents crying, they just said that's how life is, so this time, I gave those words back to them. Since my sister is already married to him and has the marriage certificate, a little fighting in daily life is normal, right? Missing 2 meals shouldn't be a problem. After all, you've been eating too much sea cucumber porridge. Your nutrition must be well covered. I smiled brightly. Suddenly, a terrified scream came from the other end of the phone. It turned out Odin had returned, but at this moment, he seemed somewhat different from before. Those rows of sharp teeth appeared to be stained with traces of blood. His gaze had become even more terrifying. Husband, you're back." Sable suppressed her fear, trembling as she tried to feign a loving marital relationship in front of me, but the next second, the hand she reached out to touch Odin's arm was severed. Bright red blood gushed out instantly. Meanwhile, Odin, with bloodshot eyes, kept chewing incessantly. No, the 3 people started screaming again. Sable pushed her parents in front of Odin. "Honey, I was wrong. Eat them first. I beg you, don't eat me. Eat them first." The parents stared in shock at their child, whom they had doted on since infancy, as if they couldn't believe she would say such things. "Sable, we're your birth parents, Pa." Sable spat fiercely, her eyes brimming with hatred. "If it weren't for you, how could I be living in such misery now? The braised pork and pork knuckle should be mine, and the grand manor too. It's all your fault. It's all your fault." Under extreme spoiling, the child raised is naturally extremely selfish. She had just been able to lay hands on her mother, and now she showed no mercy. In Sable's eyes, everyone in this family could be sacrificed for her. Her parents finally realized this too, their expressions despondent, faces ashen. Practically scrambling back in front of the camera, "Coraline, save us, it's Mom and Dad's fault. Can you call Axel to take us away?" Facing their pleading eyes, I just shook my head. "Sorry, it's too far away. I can't bear to make Axel travel that distance. Besides, it's so unsafe outside. What if something happens to Axel? I can't trust leaving you alone with Axel." Hearing the blatant sarcasm in my words, my parents nearly broke down. "You ungrateful wretch, we're your own parents. Are we less important than some man? As long as I have no morals, they can't possibly guilt-trip me." Odin over there was clearly starving. There are indeed no more fish in the sea, but the giant shark tribe only eats meat. Without fish, where can they get meat? In my past life, I was always on edge. My parents are really naive. Amidst the screams and pleas for mercy, I hung up the phone. I didn't feel the slightest bit of sorrow for them in my heart. They made their bed, now they must lie in it. This is just their retribution. Axel held my hand again. "Honey, don't worry. I'll be here for you from now on. I'm still your family." I nodded and patted my silly bird. The rain continued for half a year. Even this mountain was flooded from the foot to the waist. Fortunately, those living on the mountain moved quickly and weren't submerged. They are all kind-hearted people. Because those with ill intentions were thrown into the sea to feed the sharks long ago. When sunlight finally broke through the clouds and shone upon this land, everyone smiled. They saw a large ship flying a red flag in the distance. Their family came to pick them up. In the end, only Axel and I were left in the villa again. No, not just the two of us, darling. If it's a girl, we'll take her traveling around the world. If it's a boy, we'll leave him to guard the house while we enjoy our global adventures. How does that sound? Axel touched my belly with a scheming look on his face. I rolled my eyes, I nodded. Don't birds rarely have just one egg at a time? What if there are more? But I really want to travel the world with you. We still have a long time ahead. No need to rush, really. You said it yourself. Silly bird. Get up quickly. You're squishing the baby, noisy and boisterous, full of laughter and joy. My heart feels completely at peace. Here is my beloved. Here is my home. Story 2. As the intense summer heat hit, I rush around everywhere to find a suitable kidney donor for my mother's uremia. Finally, I managed to secure one. However, in order to impress his future mother-in-law, my younger brother actually gave away the kidney donor to his girlfriend's maternal aunt on his own initiative. What's more, he gave away the cooling patches and water resources that I had begged for from all over as gifts to them. When I argued with him, he locked me outside the door. Under the sweltering heat of over 60 degrees Celsius, I was literally baked to death in the sun. My mother didn't show the slightest bit of distress. Instead, she blamed me for not being capable enough, for not holding on long enough to donate my kidney to her. When I opened my eyes again, I heard my mother's familiar sobs. Claire, you're the college student that I've sacrificed everything to support. Please help me find another kidney donor. If I die, your younger brother will have no one to rely on. Hearing my mother's words, I felt a sense of disorientation. My skin didn't ache from being sunburned to the point of cracking, and my throat wasn't dry and torn. I had actually been reborn. On my phone, my mother was crying non-stop. Claire, I've been feeling worse and worse recently. I'm afraid I don't have much time left. When on earth can we find a kidney donor? I'm afraid I won't live to see you and your younger brother start families and build careers. You're a good child and very capable. If I'm gone, you must take good care of your younger brother. In my previous life, my mother suffered from uremia and would cry and play the victim every day. Because I felt sorry for her, I carried her to the hospital for dialysis in the sweltering heat of over 40 degrees Celsius every day. I went around various hospitals with my head down, waiting for a kidney donor. As the summer heat intensified, the already scarce kidney donors became even rarer. Food and water were in short supply, the medical system was struggling to operate, and the cost of kidney transplantation surgery skyrocketed to an astronomical figure. For my mother, I spent all my savings and even took out high-interest loans. But my younger brother gave away the kidney donor to his girlfriend's maternal aunt. He even had the nerve to say that our family had connections and that one kidney was nothing. He showed off in front of others, forgetting that I had run all over the city, pleading with everyone I could to get that chance of a kidney donor. I was so angry that I went to confront my brother, but he locked me outside the door. The sweltering heat of 60 degrees Celsius was still rising. I was on the verge of death from the heat, knocking on the door desperately, begging my mother to save me. But she said, Claire, your brother is a man and the head of the family. How can you talk back to him? You should rein in your temper. I hope you can reflect on yourself. On the verge of death, she finally opened the door in a panic, but only because she remembered that I had a healthy kidney. Claire, hold on a little longer. We're mother and daughter. Your kidney must be a match for mine. Please donate your kidney to me before you die. Okay. Remembering the miserable situation of my previous life, I took several deep breaths of the cool air from the air conditioner in the hospital to suppress the anger in my heart. I casually replied, Mom, I'm outside. Don't worry. I'll definitely find a kidney donor for you. My mother smiled with relief. That's good. With your filial piety, I'll be happy even if I die. After hanging up the phone, my eyes turned cold. Whoever wants to be a dutiful child in this life can go ahead. I'm not going to be that fool anymore. 2. Looking up, the sun was scorching and blinding. It was only morning, but the temperature was already over 40 degrees Celsius. The heat made people feel anxious. Sitting in the car with the air conditioner on and wearing a sun protection coat, I could still feel the dry, burning pain on my skin from the sun. At the nearest drinking water store, the inventory was empty. I quickly got out of the car and bought the last 2 barrels of water. The temperature was so abnormal that more and more people were starting to feel that something was wrong, and even water had become a hot commodity. I knew that the temperature would keep rising, from the current 40+ degrees to 50, and then to 60. A week later, the nights would get shorter and the days longer, and water resources would become something that everyone would fight for with their lives. In the apocalyptic situation created by the 2-month-long heat wave, Many people who were not well prepared would lose their lives. I carried the water to the car, turned around, and headed to the nearby suburbs. In my previous life, I took all the food home and told them to save it and not waste it. My younger brother actually blamed me for being stingy, saying that I was too thrifty when buying food. As the temperature kept rising, he moved in with his girlfriend, in the terrifying heat. They forced me to satisfy their various cravings. When I refused, my mother would look at me tearfully and say, "Claire, I don't want to make things difficult for you. These things should be my responsibility, but with my health like this, could you please help me figure something out?" I felt so sorry for her. For her sake, I spent a fortune on the scarce meat, made countless phone calls begging others for water, but all my efforts ended up with me being baked to death in the sun. She had always only had eyes for my younger brother. In her eyes, I was just an appendage to him, destined to be exploited of all my value, but in this life, I would have to be crazy to let her PUA me with her words of motherly love. I called all the contacts in my phone and finally rented a villa in the suburbs. To avoid being killed by the upcoming intense heat, I quickly bought a batch of solar generators and 10 fans and 5 air conditioners as backups in case of any accidents. Remembering the miserable situation after the heatwave started in my previous life, I specifically drove to a distant supermarket to buy food. First, I bought foods that were easy to store, such as bread, dried meat, preserved fruits, and canned goods. Then I also bought several refrigerators and freezers to store vegetables and various meats. After preparing the food, the next thing was water. Barreled drinking water was only available for sale at factories, and the price had already soared to 200 yuan per barrel, which was even more exaggerated than the increase in food prices, but fortunately, for now, it was just expensive, and there was no sign of panic buying and hoarding yet. I had spent all my savings from years of work on my mother's illness, and I only had over 200,000 yuan left. Originally, I had planned to use this as a reserve for her surgery, but now I wanted to save my own life more, to avoid suspicion. I specifically hired several porters with out-of-town accents and claimed that these were stocks for my own restaurant's warehouse, so as not to be targeted when the heatwave came. By the time I finished setting up my little home, it was already late at night. Carrying a half-empty barrel of water that I had been drinking from, I slowly made my way home. 3. Why did you take so long to come back? I thought you had died outside. As soon as I opened the door, my younger brother snatched the water from my hand. After taking a big gulp, his spittle almost sprayed in my face. "Claire, you were so slow buying water, and you didn't answer your phone. Did you want me to die of thirst on purpose?" When he was speaking, my mother was standing right next to him. Her face was an unhealthy yellowish brown, and she kept swallowing due to thirst. But my younger brother seemed not to notice. He just kept drinking the water. Gulping away, Julian, as soon as she opened her mouth, my younger brother impatiently shook off her outstretched hand. "Mom, I'm chatting with Bella, don't bother me." My mother's eyes welled up with tears, and she looked at me pitifully. Once upon a time, I couldn't stand that look in her eyes. I thought she could only rely on me in this family. Countless times, when my younger brother was being unreasonable, I was the one who stepped in to teach him a lesson, and she, while enjoying the benefits I brought, instilled in my younger brother the idea that I was the bad guy behind my back. This time, I stood still and said, "Mom, the water outside is sold out. I could only get this much. Wait until your brother finishes drinking, and then you can have some. Don't worry." My uncharacteristically unfilial behavior left my mother stunned on the spot. My younger brother scolded me unhappily. "Sister said to wait, so what's the rush? You're going to have dialysis even if you drink water, so why waste it? My sister just managed to get this little water. It's going to be a problem how to entertain Bella tomorrow. What are you adding to the trouble?" I frowned and asked, "Julian, why is Bella running around in this kind of heat?" My younger brother said matter-of-factly, "Sister, you don't understand. Bella's family is from the county. Country folks are so short-sighted that they've snatched up all the food and water. If I don't bring her here and show my hospitality now, when will our family be able to have a grandson?" This answer almost made me laugh. How could the countryside be faster at snapping up supplies than the city? It was just that the weather was too hot, and Bella was lazy and selfish. She just wanted to find a place where she could eat and drink for free. But not only was she lazy, her whole family was a bunch of difficult people. Relying on Bella, they almost emptied our house. My mother spent all the pocket money I gave her every month on serving them, but she still couldn't get a kind word in return. She had never been very satisfied with this daughter-in-law to be, but she didn't want to seem like the bad guy in front of my younger brother. She urgently squeezed my hand hard, hoping that I would step in and refuse my younger brother, but this time, I didn't play the role of the bad guy. I said calmly, Julian is just trying so hard for the sake of our family having descendants, right, Mom? In my previous life, I stood up to stop him as she wanted, but a few days later, my mother magnanimously said that we should consider my younger brother's marriage and grandly welcomed Bella back. I had worked so hard running around for her illness. But she just watched as Bella instigated my younger brother to change the person on the operating table and let Bella incite my younger brother to push me out to be baked to death in the sun. In this life, I wouldn't meddle in their affairs. They deserved whatever came their way, for my mother naturally wouldn't spoil my younger brother's fun. She forced a smile and said, yes, after my younger brother left. She started complaining about me. What's wrong with you, child? I asked you to refuse him, not to support him, Mom. Didn't you say that we should prioritize your younger brother's marriage? My mother was at a loss for words, but there are circumstances to consider. I pretended to be wronged, Mom. Now the hospital is full of patients with heatstroke and sunburn. I've been to every hospital in the city for your sake, but I still haven't found a suitable kidney donor. I'm so worried that I can't eat, and now you're blaming me. Is this how a mother should be? How could this be? My mother became anxious and blurted out, what about the result of the compatibility test between me and you? So she was already eyeing my kidney. No wonder she wasn't worried at all when she saw her kidney donor being given away. Mom, I was just thinking about how to tell you this. Only your younger brother's kidney is a match for yours, if you're willing. I can contact the hospital for the surgery right away. How could it be your younger brother? My mother looked as if she had been struck by lightning. Your younger brother is a man. How can he lose a kidney? I looked at her sincerely. At most, your younger brother will just lose one kidney, and it won't affect his normal life. But Mom, you're the one whose life is at stake. But she didn't even hesitate and firmly shook her head. Claire, a man can't live without one kidney. I can't harm him. These words finally made me turn my face away. And my heart turned cold. Of course she cared about her son's kidney. After all, he was the apple of her eye, the one who would carry on the family line in the future. 5. The next day, my younger brother couldn't wait to bring his girlfriend over. From the center of the sofa, Bella glanced at me disdainfully. Sister-in-law, you're finally up. Since your whole family is here, I'll tell you my rules. I don't care how stingy you usually are, anyway. I only eat free-range chickens from the countryside. For milk, shrimp, and crab, I only want imports from the United States and Japan. Don't try to fob me off with domestic products that may be radioactive. My mother quickly pushed me forward. Claire, if you have any opinions, just say them. For a moment, both Bella's and my younger brother's gazes were on me. Bella looked disdainful. Does a 30-something old woman who still lives at home really have an opinion, Julian? Didn't you say you're the boss at home? My younger brother was even more eager to prove himself in front of Bella. He said impatiently, Claire, this is my house. If you dare to be picky, get out. I smiled. Julian, is your name on the property deed? How dare you tell me to get out? Julian, didn't you say this was the wedding house you bought? You actually lied to me. Bella stood up abruptly. What's going on with your family? How can we get married without a house, Bella? Listen to my explanation. Get lost. I won't marry you without a fully paid-for house and 880,000 yuan in betrothal gifts. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, my mother quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. She apologized profusely to Bella and repeatedly assured her that the house would be used as a wedding house for my younger brother, but Bella still pouted angrily. I'll stay, but I have one condition. You have a month to marry Claire off. I don't want a meddling sister-in-law in the house. 6. My mother forced a smile and agreed to all of Bella's demands. After the two of them went to look at the master bedroom, she looked at me apologetically. Claire, that was just a temporary solution. Don't take those words seriously. She took out 2 crumpled 100 yuan bills from her pocket and sighed. Mom knows you were wrong just now. I'll pay for the groceries to entertain Bella. Don't be angry, with prices skyrocketing. What could 200 yuan buy? With a smile, I took the money from her hand, much to her surprise. Mom, I'm not angry. I'll go buy the groceries right away. I wanted to see how these troublemakers would act when there was no water and no food in a couple of days. 7. The weather was getting more and more terrifying. I only bought a little bit of perishable vegetables every day, forcing my mother to use the stored food at home to cook. With Bella deliberately being picky and insisting on having 8 dishes and 1 soup every day, the once full refrigerator was starting to empty out. Just then, the property management issued a notice. Due to the abnormal weather and difficulties in power generation, the power supply to each household would be strictly controlled, and only 1 air conditioner could be used per day. If everyone wanted to stay cool, they would have to go to my younger brother's master bedroom at night. He blocked me and my mother, Mom, sister, Bella, and I need to sleep at night. It's not convenient. You'd better sleep separately. My mother stood there, at a loss, looking at me. I looked at him with a heartbroken expression. Julian, are the lives of Bella's parents more important than mine and Mom's? In this kind of heat, do you want us to die of heat? Sister, there are fans. What's the big deal? My younger brother said indifferently. Or you can just take an ice cube from the fridge and put it on your face. Why don't you and Bella do that? Bella has delicate skin and can't be compared with you. My younger brother frowned and began to get impatient. You're my own mother and sister, yet you're not even willing to make a sacrifice. I laughed. Who understands sacrifice better than you? You brought your girlfriend's family to live in your elder sister's house. You occupied someone else's place and then turned around and blamed me instead. My younger brother hated it the most when the topic of the house was brought up. His temper flared up, and he pushed me hard. Claire, even if this is your house, it's easy for me to make you get out. Bella fanned the flames on the side. What woman asks for a house? You don't know how to be considerate of your younger brother at all. A sister like you might as well have been drowned in a urinal when you were born. She stared at my face with jealousy and hatred in her eyes. Besides, how could you afford such a nice house at your age? Did you get it by seducing men? You don't look like someone who can stay out of trouble. I don't want to live with such a sister-in-law anymore. Julian, you can only choose one between me and her, caught in the middle. My mother's eyes spun quickly, and she leaned towards my younger brother. Claire, you can't be so unreasonable. Hurry up and apologize to your younger brother and Bella. As the ingredients in the refrigerator were almost used up, I no longer suppressed my emotions and stared at them coldly. I'm not living in this house anymore. My younger brother sneered. Then get out right now. I'm annoyed just looking at you. I picked up the bag that I had already packed, turned around, and walked out the door. Before leaving, I still couldn't control the last bit of affection in my heart and wanted to look back at my mother. When I met her evasive gaze, my heart turned completely cold. Bella said dissatisfiedly, if she's gone, who will go grocery shopping? My skin is so delicate that I can't get sunburned. My younger brother fawned over her like a sycophant. How could I let you go grocery shopping? Don't worry. She has nowhere to go and will definitely come back tomorrow and beg us to take her in. 8. I arrived at the villa I rented in the suburbs and was sweating all over. I quickly turned on the air conditioner and then felt as if I had come back to life. Away from that bunch of difficult people, I lay comfortably on the soft big bed and slept until I woke up naturally. When I got up the next day, while having yogurt with cereal, I turned on the must-watch drama for meals on my phone, the home surveillance. Those people had just woken up too. When my younger brother saw the empty dining table and started cursing and asking my mother why she hadn't cooked, he realized that she had fainted from the excessive heat the previous night. He and Bella quickly carried her to the master bedroom to let her enjoy the air conditioning. Without someone to cook, my younger brother naturally didn't want to do it himself, and his gaze fell on Bella. Bella glared at him. Julian, we're not even engaged yet. You don't expect me to cook, do you? Are you still a man? My younger brother rubbed his nose awkwardly. I just don't know how to cook. Then call your vixen sister back, ask her to bring some spare ribs, king prawns, and beef back by the way. Also, I didn't bring my skincare products. Ask her to buy me some La Mer or something to make do with. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. La Mer, and make do with it. With a monthly salary of over 20,000 yuan, I've never been willing to use such expensive things. A waitress from a small county town actually has her eyes on it. My younger brother called me soon, seeing that I didn't know what was good for me. My younger brother instantly got angry. Claire, Mom is sick because of you. Why don't you come back and take care of her right away? My mother has always been my weakness. As long as she was mentioned, I would always compromise. But this time, he was going to be disappointed. Ouch. She's sick. Did you not turn on the air conditioner for Mom and she got heatstroke, or was the air conditioner too cold and she got sick? I said in an exaggerated tone. Julian, you're the hope for Mom's old age. You have to take good care of her. My younger brother said in a haughty tone. You must get back before 3 p.m. Remember to bring fresh spare ribs, king prawns, and beef, and they all have to be the best. Also, didn't Mom give you money yesterday? What do you need so much money for as a woman? Bella didn't bring her cosmetics, just buy her some La Mer or something. My Bella is different from you. Her skin is very delicate and she can't use fake products. Before he could finish, I hung up the phone. On the surveillance, my younger brother was so angry that he jumped up and down. Bella didn't expect that I really wouldn't come back. Her voice was shrill. Julian, you promised me well before I came. Now that your sister is gone, who will serve me? My younger brother tried all means to persuade her. He almost wore out his lips before calming down her princess syndrome. Finally, he went into the kitchen with a round look on his face. When he brought out the noodles, Bella took a bite and then threw the chopsticks. Can't you tell the difference between salt and sugar? It tastes so bad. The fried egg is even burnt. It was my mother who woke up and made a bowl of noodles that satisfied Bella while dragging her sick body. which finally calmed Bella down. After hearing my younger brother exaggerate about my affairs, my mother quickly made a phone call. As soon as I answered the phone, she started wailing, "Claire, you had a fight with your younger brother and left home last night. Don't you want your mother anymore? Your younger brother is my darling, and you are also my darling. If you leave like this, what will happen to all the work at home?" 9. My heart turned cold as I listened. "Mom, I'm asking my friends about the situation of the kidney donor." As soon as my mother heard this, her tone immediately softened. "Mom knows that Claire is the most obedient, so what's the situation you asked about? If there is a suitable kidney donor, arrange the surgery quickly. You surely don't want Mom not to see the day you get married, right?" Before I could speak, Bella, who heard the commotion on the phone, was like a mouse seeing rice. Her eyes lit up and she leaned over. "Sister-in-law is really capable. My maternal aunt also has kidney disease. How about you help arrange it too?" I interrupted her sharply. "Bella, you can't talk nonsense like this. You have to pay and queue up to have a chance to get a kidney donor. Where do I have the ability to help arrange it? Do you know that this is illegal?" Bella was intimidated by me and muttered resentfully, "I was just asking casually. Is your mother's life more important than my maternal aunt's?" I raised my voice. "Mom, you should also know how difficult it is to get a kidney donor now, right? I don't have the ability to find a second one for you." My mother was originally still hesitating. "In my previous life, she was like this. She was afraid that her future daughter-in-law Bella would be unhappy, so she persuaded me to help inquire about other kidney donors. But before the heat wave, it was already difficult to find a kidney donor, not to mention how much more difficult it would be after the heat wave. The medical system in the hospital had already shut down, but as soon as it came to matters related to herself and my younger brother, my mother became clear-headed. She covered the phone, afraid that Bella would hear any news about the kidney donor. After she played the victim and gave me instructions, she said earnestly, "Come back early after you arrange it. It's so hot outside. Mom is worried about you. Remember to bring more meat when you come back. Mom is craving meat. Also, you're a girl. In the future, when you get married, you still have to rely on your younger brother from your natal family to support you. Mom gave birth to your younger brother just to make sure you wouldn't be wronged." I slowly took a bite of watermelon. "Mom, I don't think I can come back that soon. There is a kidney in the central hospital next door that is suitable for you. I have to go and take a look." My mother covered the phone excitedly. "Claire, Mom knew it. Mom didn't love you in vain." I hung up the phone to go along with her, knowing that I had something to do and wouldn't go home. My younger brother became even angrier due to the heat. "Mom, if Claire can't come back, someone has to go out and buy groceries and cook, right?" My mother's excitement stopped abruptly. Even through the window and the curtains, one could feel the brightness and heat of the sun. Going out at this temperature, getting a layer of skin sunburned off would be considered a minor thing. As a uremia patient, she couldn't stand the high temperature. My mother said reluctantly, "Julian, it's not that I don't want to. In such hot weather, if you don't go out, do you expect me to go?" My younger brother lay on the sofa with his legs propped up. "Mom, I'm your own son. You surely won't let me go out and get sunburned, right?" My mother had no choice but to grit her teeth and go out to buy groceries in the 50-degree heat. The prices outside were rising rapidly. A caddy of meat was sold at a high price of 100 yuan. As for drinking water, there was even a hoarding crisis, and the price was soaring. My mother spent nearly 1,000 yuan just on buying a little bit of vegetables. When she came back, she was exhausted and shocked. "Julian, now a caddy of meat costs several hundred yuan. How about you give Mom more money so that I can stock up on some supplies?" My younger brother's hand paused while he was playing a game. "Mom, don't you even think before you lie? How could it be so expensive?" My mother's mouth was so dry that it cracked. "This is the price in the supermarket outside." Bella, who was blowing the air conditioner in the bedroom, was like a lit powder keg. She jumped up from the bed and rushed out, making a shrill noise. "Julian, what are you and your family pretending for? If you think I'm spending too much of your family's money, just say it directly. Do you have to exaggerate the price so much? I've asked my friends, and it's not as serious as you said. I'm not staying in your house anymore. I'm leaving right now." In fact, before Bella even moved a bit, my younger brother immediately went up to coax and soothe her. My mother didn't dare to say a word after being scolded by him, but she kept glancing towards my younger brother's room, tentatively wanting to get some water to drink. Bella was sharp-eyed. "What are you going to do?" I'm just thirsty and want to get a bottle of water to drink." My mother was frightened and looked at my younger brother pitifully. My younger brother took a step forward and locked the door. Then he turned around and started complaining. "Mom, you're already so old. What do you need to drink water for? Bella needs that water to wash her face and body. If you're really thirsty, just drink some tap water to make do. Drink tap water." My mother was afraid that she had misheard. "Julian, Mom is sick, how can I drink tap water? But my younger brother had no patience to listen to her. He was busy trying to please his little goddess. My mother was extremely aggrieved, but unable to resist the thirst in the heat. She could only drag her sick body to get a few sips of tap water, but she didn't know that the tap water had been cut off 3 days before I was reborn, and water basically could only be bought from the supermarket outside, as early as the day I left. My younger brother and Bella had moved the refrigerator and drinking water to their room. As for the drinking water, it was also what I brought back every day in the past few days for fear that they would find something abnormal, but there were only a few bottles left. I enjoyed the cool air from the air conditioner. Leisurely finished eating the watermelon, and then happily made a packet of spicy and sour noodles. Without me, how could she and my younger brother have the good days they had in the previous life? 10. My mother wanted to call me and complain as she used to, but I was busy watching a Korean drama and really didn't feel like paying attention. I just perfunctorily said a few words and then hung up the phone. She didn't give up and asked me for money on WeChat. I just pretended that I was too busy and didn't see it. I knew that my mother always had a sense of crisis. Seeing that I didn't respond, she used all the household money I had given her before to buy groceries and stock up on water, but when Bella saw what my mother brought back, she thought that my mother was deliberately making things difficult for her. She picked fights with everyone at home and insisted that my mother cook her a full banquet of Manchu and Han delicacies. I almost burst out laughing when I watched the surveillance. How could my mother know anything about a full banquet of Manchu and Han delicacies? She could only cook a meal of 4 dishes and 1 soup with me helping her by her side. When my mother tried to persuade Bella, she was pushed hard by Bella and fell on the ground. Bella shouted at the top of her lungs, "Julian, if your mother treats me like this, I'll leave tomorrow." Under my younger brother's cursing, my mother had no choice. While crying and saying this is a curse, she managed to cook a table of dishes bit by bit. Even so, her hands were covered with blisters from the burns. "Julian, find some burn medicine for Mom." But my younger brother had no time to feel sorry for her. He was busy feeding his precious Bella soup. I watched the scene on the surveillance and happily took another sip of cola. In the same intense heatwave in the previous life, Bella was much more difficult to deal with than now. Seeing that I was generous and overly filial, she actually asked me to prepare fresh Australian lobsters and Arctic sweet shrimps for them in such extreme weather. There was simply a shortage of supply in the supermarket now, and there were no such ingredients. I could only buy some blue crabs and river shrimps at a high price. As a result, Bella looked down on these ingredients and directly cut off my water supply, almost making me die of thirst. And my mother would only tell me to be patient and wait for my younger brother to calm down. This time, if she wants to be patient, let her be patient slowly. In just 2 days, my mother could no longer afford to buy groceries. There was nothing left at home, and the temperature outside had risen to over 60 degrees. 11. My younger brother's throat was so dry that it was smoking. He gnawed on a dry cucumber in a fit of anger and said angrily, "Mom, call Claire right now. Ask her to bring groceries and meat back." The water in the refrigerator had run out, and now they could only quench their thirst with fruits and melons. Naturally, my mother didn't get any of these fruits and melons. She could only keep swallowing saliva and open and close her dry lips. I called, but she didn't answer. Without me, she had to cook and do housework, and she was also sick. She was already so tired that she seemed to have shed a layer of skin, moreover, due to uremia. Her body was in an exaggerated state of swelling, and with her dark circles under her eyes, she looked very strange. No one in this family felt sorry for her, Bella said acidly. "I think she did it on purpose. She's probably out there having a good time with a sugar daddy. Are you two in cahoots to drive me away?" My younger brother tried to soothe her while putting pressure on my mother. My mother could only wipe her tears and sob as she called me. The scene of the family scolding each other in the face of the crisis made me feel quite good. I suddenly became interested and answered my mother's call. My mother looked at the connected phone in disbelief. When she saw clearly that I was eating watermelon, her eyes lit up. "Claire, you can actually afford to eat watermelon." My younger brother snatched the phone, swallowed hard, and ordered, "Claire, where have you been these days? I order you to come back right now with food and water." The juice was sweet, and I closed my eyes happily. "I can't. I'm looking for a kidney donor for Mom and can't come back." My younger brother roared angrily at the top of his lungs. "Stop looking for it. She won't die anytime soon. If you don't come back, I'm going to die." I looked at my mother, and she hesitated before saying, "Claire, Mom knows you're the most obedient. There isn't much rice left in our family now. How about you bring some food back first and then go out to look for a kidney donor?" "Mom, it's too hot. I'm just in the neighboring city. My friend has a lot of food at home. Why don't you ask my younger brother to drive and get it?" My mother immediately became nervous. "That won't work. It's so hot. Your younger brother can't stand the sun." These words almost made me laugh out loud. My younger brother couldn't be exposed to the sun. but I could run back and forth in a temperature that could kill people. Do they really think my life is worthless? I took a bite of the crispy and sweet melon, along with the crunching sound. The juice trickled down the corner of my mouth. Then what should I do? I can't go back. My younger brother's eyes turned red. He wanted to say something more, but on my end, it was as if the screen froze, and the picture stopped. Then, the phone call was interrupted. My younger brother was furious. He snatched my mother's phone and kept calling me, but he couldn't get through anymore. He angrily smashed the phone and pointed at my mother and cursed, "It's all your fault. You just had to get sick and drag our whole family down. If you hadn't gotten sick, how could Claire not come back? You want me and Bella to be buried with you, don't you?" 12. My mother was so severely scolded by her precious son that she felt extremely wronged and sobbed uncontrollably, but as she was crying, she suddenly covered her chest, and her face turned deathly pale. The cardiopulmonary function of uremia patients is very poor. Under emotional fluctuations, they are prone to shock. My younger brother wasn't unaware of this, but he just stared coldly at my mother. He said impatiently, "Mom, I just said a couple of words. Are you really that fragile? I just ate the last cucumber, and the water is cut off. You have to find a way to buy some things back quickly." My mother's sobs caught in her throat. She almost suspected that she had misheard. "Don't we have no money left?" And at this temperature, my younger brother took out a 50 yuan banknote from his pocket. "Mom, this is the private money Bella voluntarily took out. Stop dawdling and go buy some fresh fruits to sweeten her mouth." As he spoke, he pushed my mother outside. "But it's 50 degrees now." My mother was anxious. "I'll be sunstroked to death." "It's okay, Mom, here's a sun umbrella." My mother was thus pushed out, but it was so hot outside. As soon as she went out, the heat made her heart beat faster. It was almost like being in a steamer, and she could hardly breathe. She was already weak. After walking just a short distance, the heat made her black out, and she almost fell to the ground several times. In the terrifying heat, there was not a single living thing on the road except her, let alone any shops selling goods. She stumbled back again. The air conditioner in the living room was turned off, so she trembled and ran towards the master bedroom, but then she heard voices coming from inside. "This tomato is rotten. I don't want to eat it." "My dear, I heard that there's nothing to buy outside. Don't be picky, be good and eat it. I guess my mom will be back soon. Be careful she comes back and steals food from you." My mother was like being hit on the head with a club. She stood there as if she had been stunned. How could she not understand? In the face of danger, her precious son didn't even want to give her a chance to live. "Julian," she banged on the door and cried out heartbrokenly, "do you think you're worthy of me? I'm your mother. I've loved you the most since you were a child. I gave you everything you wanted. How could you?" My younger brother cursed and opened the door irritably, but there was no sign of guilt on his face. "Mom, anyway. You're almost dying of uremia. Can't you leave the chance of survival to me and Bella?" Bella curled her lips beside him. "Auntie, old people living too long will take away the good fortune of their descendants. You're already so old. I don't know why you're still hanging on." My mother had always disliked her. Now, in a fit of anger, she had no scruples. She reached out and pinched her. "It's all your fault. You've corrupted my son. He would never treat me like this before." Bella cried out in pain, grabbed my mother's hair, and pulled hard on the ear with the earring. The two of them fought each other. How could my younger brother bear to see his sweetheart being wronged? With a wave of his hand, he threw my mother away. "Mom, how dare you touch Bella?" My mother had been hungry for 2 days and couldn't stand steadily. When he pushed her hard, she directly hit the corner of the stairs. Dark red blood gushed out like a valve that had been opened. My mother widened her eyes, reflexively covered her head, and looked at my younger brother. "Save me." My younger brother was so frightened that he lost his wits. In a panic, he was about to get the first aid kit, but was stopped by Bella. Her voice was extremely cold. "Julian, in this situation, didn't you say that your mother is a burden even if she's alive?" My younger brother stopped in his tracks. Watching my mother struggling to twist her body and keep crying for help from my younger brother, I felt both heartbroken and ironic. The terminal illness hadn't brought her down, but the human heart had dealt her a fatal blow. 13. After my mother completely died, Bella and my younger brother threw her into the guest room. Without my mother, there was indeed one less mouth to feed, but there were only a few tomatoes left at home. Even if they saved on food, they could only last for 2 more days before running out of food completely. The temperature outside was getting higher and higher, and they couldn't even go out at night without eating. Bella was so hungry that she cried and lost her temper with my younger brother. "When will this day end? Didn't you say you would take me to live a good life? How long has it been since we ate meat?" My younger brother's stomach was empty, and he didn't have the mood to fawn over her like a sycophant as before. He shouted at her impatiently, "Shut up. If you make any more noise, I'll throw you out." Bella was stunned by the shout and was about to have a big argument with him, but facing my younger brother's cold and chilling gaze, she shrank her neck. Without support, they didn't have the conditions to act like an affectionate couple anymore. Suddenly, my younger brother's gaze turned to the guest room. His sinister eyes were like a snake spitting out its tongue. "Don't you want to eat meat? Isn't there some ready-made meat here?" Bella's eyes widened. Isn't it a bit too much?" Even I was shocked by my younger brother's words. Understanding the meaning behind his words, my stomach started to churn, and I felt a strong urge to vomit. When my mother was alive, she worked like a beast of burden for him and would have given her own flesh and blood to support him. Now that she was gone, he really intended to use her flesh and blood. 14. When I opened the video again. Several days had passed. Both Bella and my younger brother's mental states were showing signs of abnormality. Bella's hair was in a mess, and she no longer had the freshness of a city beauty before. She moved around in the kitchen like a marionette for a while and finally brought out a plate of dark things. She said woodenly, "It's done." She was wearing a vest, and the large expanse of exposed skin was blue-purple. Her eyes looking at my younger brother were full of fear, which was completely different from her previous arrogance. Even when approaching my younger brother, she was shaking all over. Looking up, the sun was scorching and blinding. "Damn it," he cursed when he smelled it. "Why does it stink so much?" He kicked her directly, and Bella, holding her stomach, endured it submissively. She didn't even dare to cry out loud. She only dared to give him a resentful glare when he wasn't paying attention. My younger brother's true nature had always been irritable and unreasonable. When life was going smoothly, he could be a bootlicker and coax her like a princess. When life was not going well, she became a thorn in his side. Bella explained in a low voice, "The meat was already rotten, I couldn't make it fresh." My younger brother took a bite and immediately vomited it out. He threw the chopsticks at her head. "Bitch. You can't even cook a meal properly, and you still expect me to marry you." He started punching and kicking Bella to vent his anger. When he stopped, he stared at Bella, sobbing softly. Suddenly, he licked his chapped lips. "I haven't eaten fresh meat for a long time." He suddenly, contrary to his previous behavior, gently reached out and touched her. "Good Bella, you know I love you the most." Bella's body trembled, and she felt a strong sense of alarm. Realizing something, she took off running towards the door, but she was a little too slow. My younger brother grabbed her collar and dragged her back. "Julian, you can't treat me like this. I can give you a son. I don't want the 800,000 yuan betrothal gift anymore. I can give you a son right now. Don't you?" The familiar sound of a machete interrupted her cry. Blood was splashing out from the kitchen door, followed by my younger brother's frantic sucking sound. My younger brother had completely crossed the line. I didn't want to pay attention to what happened next. 15. The apocalyptic high temperature lasted for a month, and then the weather returned to normal. Social order was gradually being restored. The crematorium was operating day and night to deal with all kinds of corpses left by the high temperature. I received a call from the police station. My younger brother was actually still alive, but he had gone crazy. When the police caught him, he was wandering on the street. He would pounce on people and bite them when he saw them, scaring the children on the roadside into crying loudly. Seeing his crazy words and actions, the police investigated. Through the skeletons at home, they learned that he had killed people in the apocalyptic environment, but since he was crazy, he naturally couldn't be convicted. What could I do? I could only send him to the mental hospital with the worst environment in the city. The kind where it said that even normal people would go crazy if they stayed there. Without the burden of false motherly love, I began to explore my life. The sun was shining just right, and my new life was setting sail.